back on here again to give another testimony about God, because as I spend time with God and He revealed everything to me regarding my life, I can't do anything but give Him glory. And I also have to glorify Him publicly. I have to let people know that God is real. Because if you was raised the way that I was raised, it is so easy to just give up on yourself and give up on life if you don't know God. So I was just thinking, everywhere that I go and I have to stay a long period of time where someone gets to know me, I attract a lot of narcissists. You know, a lot of jealous people, envy people that's very envious. And I see now that jealousy or the jealous spirit, the envious spirit is taking over the world. But I'm so happy that my life was the way that it was, because it prepared me for life. It prepared me for today. I remember I used to be so embarrassed about where I came from. So ashamed of my mom, so ashamed of my dad, ashamed of my entire family, to be quite honest with you. When I was about 11 months was when I was first taken from my biological mom and placed into the foster system. And from there, I was back and forth. My life was very, very chaotic. I was back and forth with my mom, my dad. My aunt had me for a few years in foster care. As I got older, I was in all type of centers for children who was placed in the system for teenagers. When I say my life was chaotic, it was very chaotic. And I think I oppressed myself a lot because of the shame that I carried since a child, since a toddler, as long as I can remember. But the Bible says that your enemies will come from your household. It will be those of your household. And I never understood that until now. Let's go to the verse. So in Matthew verse 10:36 in the King James versions, it states, "And a man's foe shall be they of his own household," meaning your family, your brothers, your sisters, your mom, your dad. Even as you get older, your wife, your husband, your children, your extended family, even cousins, aunts, uncle, because I know they all rose against me, and I was just a child. It also states in the Bible, in Micah verse 7:6, King James version, it states, "For the son dishonoreth the father, the daughter riseth up against her mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the man of his own house." And this is so true. In my life, my enemies, my boogeyman, was definitely my own mom, my dad, my siblings. When I was younger, much younger, from 1 to 6, I did live with my aunt. Life was a little bit easier because I didn't get abused. I was still a scapegoat. I was always the one that was kind of bullied, but it's nowhere near how it was with my mom and my dad. I would say the placement with my aunt was the best placement that I had, and I wish children's services would have left me there. But back in that time when I was 5, 6 years old, the mother and the father always had rights to their children no matter what. Nowadays, in 2025, you only get like a year or two to get your act together before they remove your child permanently, where the child will be adopted. Unfortunately, that wasn't my case. I was bounced back and forth from different homes my whole entire life. There was no stability. I would say the most stability I had was with my aunt. And that's when I was with her from 11 months, because she was the first placement that I had. And it was from 1 to 6 years old. After that, I was removed from her. My mother boyfriend was able to get her a lawyer to get her children back, which was the worst. Because my mom, for some reason, she was really, really jealous of me, extremely jealous of me. And I know now, since I'm older, that was the case. As a child, I didn't know. I didn't understand. But me being placed with her, back in her home, was the worst for me. Because my mom, she physically abused me, and also she had boyfriends who touched on me, who molested me. My older brother, he molested me, touched on me. And not only that, my mom, she despised me. My mom would make up games. Like, she'd pretend like she's the teacher and her children was the student. She had six children altogether. But I was the one that she always wanted to hurt. But back to the game, she used to make up little games where we'll play school, and she'll have a ruler, and whoever get the answer wrong, she'll hit them with the ruler. And she never hit my brothers and sisters with the ruler, only me. So even though they always got the answer wrong, she'll just excuse them just to wait until I get an answer wrong so that she can hit me. And she would always say it was because I was the smart one. All my mom's children was diagnosed with mild retardation. And by the grace of God, I was the only one who came out with no mental disabilities. And I think it's because I was my dad and my mom's first child. So my mom was still in love with my father at that time. So she didn't do any drinking. She didn't do any drugs or anything like that, because she loved my father. And my father kind of had control over her at the time. So he was able to convince her to stop drinking and smoking while she had me. But with all my other brothers and sisters, she did drink. She did smoke. Cigarettes, and she smoked, trees. So unfortunately, my sisters and brothers had a lot of problems. But because I didn't have any problems, my mother, she wanted me to have problems. I remember she would tell me to lie to people and pretend like I didn't know answers or something so that she can get like a SSI check for me. And 6, 7 years old, you don't know how to lie. Like, you don't know how to pretend like you don't know nothing. They ask you a question, you answer it. So that was a big failure. Every time she tried to get a SSI check for me, they would always let her know that there was nothing wrong with me. When my mother's boyfriend, the one who helped her get her children back, was the same one who molested me. He went to jail. I think they gave him like 23 years because he touched all of us. My mom had 3 girls, and he touched all of us, but it was only one that he penetrated, which was my older sister. And he received 23 years in jail for that. And then he also got more time later on when he tried to get parole. But because he was sentenced to jail, my mom kind of blamed me. Even though he didn't penetrate me, he penetrated my older sister. So he did a lot of damage to my older sister. But she kind of ignored that, and she put the blame on me. I can remember I was like 7 or 8 years old and reading a letter that she was writing to her boyfriend, the guy who molested us. And she was telling him that she was going to make sure that I pay. That she was going to pay me back. And mind you, I'm only 7, 8 years old. But she didn't know that I can read that well. I found the letter somewhere on the shelf. She had a picture in there for the boyfriend. And she wrote the letter. And she meant that. She tried to pay me back for him molesting us. I remember she tried to send me to a hospital and tried to say that I was crazy. But once again, I passed the test. And they let my mom know that there's nothing wrong with me. And they sent me right back home. And that's when the abuse got so bad. Like my mom, she used to beat me like I was another woman out on the street. She didn't spank me. She used to. It became a full-fledged fight on her part. Because I'm 7 years old. I'm tiny. I can't protect myself from her. But I do remember her punching me, hitting me with curtain rods until I had like a cut on my eye. I remember her stumping me where I'm just looking up and I just see like her feet is real filthy with dirt. Stumping on my face, and blood coming down my nose. I remember my aunts and them kind of co-signing for her. Like, well, you shouldn't have did what you did. And, I could just sneeze wrong. And my mom would be ready to just slam me and pounce on me and beat me. But I think like a year later, my mom kind of got caught with abusing us or abusing me. Because I thought it was normal. So I never told anyone. But after my older brother touched on me and molested me, he went to jail as well for like 3 years. I think they gave him. But it opened a case again with my mom. So I was removed once again from her at 8 years old. Because then they noticed me getting abused. They seen the scars, they seen the marks. And they removed me. And I was placed into foster home until my dad came and got me. I was real familiar with my dad because my aunt was his sister that had me from 11 months to 6 years old. So I always seen my dad. He always came to visit us. But my dad was a narcissist. So them placing me with my father, I would say the first year was pretty good. I was about 8 years old. And I think that was so good because he had control over me. You know, you 8 years old. What are you going to do? It was only me at the time. So I would say the first year was pretty good. The second year, my father ended up going to get my brothers and sisters from my mom. So my mom and my dad had four kids together. And I think that brought out my father's mental illnesses. Of course, he was a narcissist. My dad had other problems too. I remember reading in one of the children's services little booklets where they talk about the families, why they've been removed from home and things like that. And they had history on my mom and my dad. And I know that my dad spent some time in the psych ward. So the stress really brought the other side of my father out, from him trying to raise four of us. And of course I was the scapegoat because I was always the smartest one. I guess that was more like a threat to my father. Because it was easier for him to control the other ones because they didn't know any better. And like I said, it was kind of slow. So he kind of took the frustration out on me. And I saved myself from my father. I remember it was something that was said. I can't remember what I said, but I remember running because I seen the look in his face. And he chased me all the way to the street where I wanted to run across the street, but I couldn't because it was too many cars. And the way that he kind of whipped me was more like a beating. Like I didn't feel any type of love there. It was more control. You know, he just wanted control. And if I got hurt in the process, so be it. If I would have ran across the street and got hit by a car, my father would not have been mad. Just to give you an idea of how much he strived for power and control. And my father found power and control by abusing his children. So since I noticed that I became that scapegoat for my father too. I didn't know what to call it, you know, that young. I was only when I was ready to save myself from my father, I was about 9 or 10 years old. And that was the night that I decided to save myself, is when I got that last beating, when I tried to run across the street. Because before then, my dad, he never hit me, but when the other children came to live with my father, he always hit me, you know. And like I said, there was no love there. Like, he smacked me, and the smack was like him hitting on another man. Like, it was that terrible. And it kept escalating, you know. And it reminded me of being back with my mom. And at this time, I knew what abuse was. I knew that even though he was my father, he was not supposed to be beating on me like that. So the next day, I remember we was in a cab because my father didn't drive. And we was on our way home. And I figured that was my time to kind of save myself because there was another adult there. And I pretended like I couldn't walk. I pretended like I couldn't walk and I couldn't breathe. And I begged the cab driver to take me to the hospital. Of course, you know, my father knew I was faking, and he was trying to discourage the cab driver for taking me to the hospital. But because I started crying and I was yelling and saying I can't breathe and this and that, the police officer, the taxi driver said that do not want that on his conscience if something happened to me, and he didn't care what my dad was saying. He was taking me to the hospital, and he ended up taking me to the hospital. And when we got to the hospital, I still pretended like I couldn't breathe, and of course the doctors knew I was lying because they put something on my finger, and they told me, they said, we know that you can breathe. Like, we put the whatever they had put on my finger, it told on me that I didn't have any type of breathing problems. And they wanted to know. They said, what is wrong with you? We know that you can breathe. So I just got up and just pretended like I couldn't walk. So they'll try to tell me, like, well, let me see you walk. And I'll get up, I'll fall down, and I just kept pretending like I couldn't walk. And the crazy part is, the ironic part is, when they admitted me, they ended up admitting me to the hospital to make sure that wasn't nothing seriously wrong with me. I think they kind of knew that I was lying, but they figured that it must be something I wasn't telling them because my father was right there, because they ended up admitting me to the hospital anyway. And I remember them giving me a shot in my back to try to see why wasn't I walking. And whatever it was, it really did. It hurted so bad that I really couldn't walk for like the next day or two. I don't know what they put in my back, but they put something in my back that really, really stopped me from being able to walk, because it was so painful when I tried to get up, when I tried to walk and everything. But even then, when they came back, they said, we ran the test on you. We know that you can walk. What's going on? So I finally just broke down, and I told them. I told them that my father was beating on me, and I didn't want to go back home. So I also asked them if they can stop my father for coming to visit me, because my dad was a narcissist, so he knew how to wear the mask to kind of manipulate other people, to make him seem like he was just this normal guy, that he didn't do anything to me. And even the gifts didn't work that time. He tried to bring me, like, I remember big balloons and teddy bears and things like that, and it didn't work. Like, I was tired of my mom beating on me. I was tired of my dad beating on me, and I was ready to go. I just couldn't understand why they felt the need to put their hands on me like that. I understand, like, children getting whoopings, but the way that they was hitting me, it was beatings. It was fighting a little girl, So they ended up telling my dad that he wasn't able to visit me anymore, and they ended up bringing in children's services once again. And that was how I was removed from my mom and my dad permanently. And they sent me to foster care. So after they took me to foster care, I maybe seen my dad like for the next 3 or 4 months. He got visitation rights. And then the judge just completely told him he couldn't see me anymore, because I kept requesting that he's not allowed to visit me. And for like the next 5 years, I was just in foster care. I didn't see my mom. I didn't see my dad. I think I might have seen my mom a couple of times, actually. But it was like an hour or two visit, nothing long. But for like the next 5 years, I was just in multiple foster homes. I kind of lost count how many foster homes I was in. But I was in a lot because I was older. I think I was like 10 or 11 at the time. And people just didn't adopt older children. So I wasn't lucky enough to get adopted. But Children's Services had custody of me, permanent custody of me. So, of course, I stayed in foster care. Um, and even though I was in multiple foster cares, I was happy. Like, I was at bliss. Like, I wasn't getting beat anymore. I wasn't getting sexually abused or none of that. So I was just happy. I mean, of course, I dealt with other issues like friends not understanding my situations um, and not really being a part of the family of the foster parents. You know, because a lot of foster parents, they're just there for the money. But even that, I didn't mind. I was just so happy to be away from my parents, away from the abuse. I think I was about 12 when I found the perfect match. I believed in my heart. The foster mom, she was so caring. She treated me like I was a daughter. And that lasted for a good 2 or 3 years until I got into it with her daughter, who was an adult. I remember the daughter calling me an orphan or something, and it kind of triggered me because I wanted to be a part of the family so bad. But her calling me an orphan, and she didn't mean nothing by it. I think we were just having like a normal conversation. And one of the other foster children had called one of the babies an orphan, and I had to correct her because the baby was I think was her niece. And I was like, no, she's not an orphan, we're the orphan. And the my foster mom daughter agreed, and it triggered me. Like, I was so mad that she called me an orphan, that I ended up trying to fight her. And the foster mom, she wasn't having it. When she came back and she realized that I tried to fight her daughter, she asked that I was be removed, and that's how I was removed from her home. The next foster home after that, though, was pretty good because it was in the same area. So I still had the same friends. I was still going to the same school and everything. But the foster parent boyfriend ended up beating on me. So I asked to be removed. My foster parent boyfriend, I think he ended up going to jail or something, and they asked me if I wanted to stay, but I was like, no. After being abused by my mom and my dad, I did not accept it at all anymore. People putting their hands on me, like, I just couldn't take it. Even though I was a child, that was just a huge trigger for me. Somebody putting their hands on me, because I just feel like nobody had the right to put their hands on you. I don't care how mad they is. They don't have the right to put their hands on you. And because I was so small, like, as a teenager and as a child, I just didn't play that. So I asked to be removed. I was removed from her. And from that on, I was just placed in different foster homes and centers for teenagers. Until I was about, I think I was 15 is when I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back home to my father. I knew I didn't want to go home to my mom. My mom, she was completely jealous of me. I didn't trust my mom that much. But still, me going back with my father, oh my gosh, I ended up putting myself right back into hell. But I remember wanting to drive to get my license. And I remember the system telling me that I couldn't go get my license until I was 18 because they had custody of me, and it would, I guess they didn't trust that 16, 17-year-old driving. That was too much responsibility or liability for them. So we had to wait until we was aged out. So we got 18. And that was enough for me to be like, okay, no, I'm going back home because I want to be able to drive. I want to live a normal life like all the other teenagers. And that was the worst mistake I did to myself. Because when I ended up going back to my father, like I told you guys, my father is a narcissist. So narcissists, once they have a grudge or they see you as an enemy, they always do. So the next 2 years was just pure hell. Let's just put it that way. I'm not gonna go completely into it because I think I'm just gonna write a book about it. But it was pure hell. I ended up running away at 17. And I stayed away until I was 18. To let you know how bad it was, even though I ran away when I was 17, my father couldn't catch me. And he tried to put like a runaway charge on me using a different birthday. So even when I turned 18, it would still be on there. So I can get in trouble with the law. But when I turned 18, I just went down to the courts and let them know I was 18. So my dad couldn't put any type of charges on me, runaway charges on me. And it worked. The judge said, yeah, you're 18. There's nothing we can do. You're grown. And from that day on, I was free. From what I thought. Because even though so much stuff happened to me, I was still like this happy-go-lucky girl. Making it to adulthood, I was so happy. I put myself through college. I finished high school, but I always wanted to help my family. Because at 18, you still don't really understand how much narcissists hate you. It really took me a long time to realize that there was nothing that I can do to make my mom love me, to make my dad love me. And it was because of their illnesses. They was mentally ill. And there was nothing I can do about it. But I tried. I tell you, I from 18 to at least, I'll say like 25, I tried so bad to help them, to show them that I love them. But it was just, it just didn't work. They was not meant to go with me in life. They was definitely my lesson. They taught me that I couldn't trust no one. They taught me what fake was, meaning fake love. They taught me to be independent. Did not put my trust in no one, to never depend on anyone. They definitely taught me to not let anyone abuse me. It was a lot of tough lessons I learned. And unfortunately, the way that it happened, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Because that's very traumatic. Because not only did I have to deal with all that with my parents, but because they was mentally ill, it triggered through my whole family. The smear campaigns that my father created with his side of the family, created no love there with them. And the same with my mom's family. So um, I was literally in the world alone, with just me and God. And I wish I would have recognized it when I saved myself, when I was 10. And I wish I would have just stayed gone and never went back. Like, even now, I wish I would have stayed gone, because that really do put a toll on your life. Um, oh my gosh. And it leads to so much healing. Like, it's so much you have to heal from. And it delayed a lot of things in your life. Like you having your own family, your own husband or wife, because you don't know how to love, you know. Um, and you want to make sure that what happened to you, you don't project onto anyone. Um, like, I didn't want to be the person that was mentally, physically, emotionally abusing other people, because that's what used to happen if I got too close to anyone. So I spent a lot of time alone, because for one, I couldn't trust anyone, but for two, I was so damaged, you know, that I would unintentionally hurt other people if they got too close. But me being alone, me being to myself, kind of protected other people, and it protected me. Um, I couldn't even go to my siblings, you know, because they were so bad off. Um, and they kind of rose against me, you know, with jealousy, envy, because I was so different. Um, I just wouldn't wish this type of life on anyone. But now I understand why I went through what I went through. Um, because God was showing me what we have to deal with as an adult, you know, of people like really hating you for no reason. And they're hating you not because of you or what you're doing, it's because of their own mental instabilities. Um, and by the grace of God, I'm so happy that God held on to me, where I didn't end up losing my mind, you know. I didn't end up going around bullying other people or beating other people or none of that stuff. In fact, it kind of just motivated me to do better in life. Um, where I did the complete opposite of my parents. Like, I never drank, I never smoked. Um, I went to college. I started a business. I definitely gave my life to God. So I went a whole different route than my parents. Even though I ended up losing them um, emotionally, um, like, I do respect the fact that they brought me into this world. I do honor them for that, because that's what God tells us to do. But that's kind of where it ends. I can't even say that I love them anymore. I love them as much as I love the next person in the world. If that says anything, um, but I wouldn't wish that on no one, because nobody want to go through life having to cut off their mom and their dad and their family because they're too toxic, you know, because they want to destroy you. But the only way to live, the only way to survive is to cut them off. The only way to maintain your sanity, the only way to prosper in life is to cut them off. Um, because their only goals was to destroy me, and it never changed. No matter how old I got, it never changed. And that was enough to make me to get up and walk away. and to live my own life is to understand that their problems was not my problems. Um, even though um, it did make my life very chaotic, with their mental illnesses, the things that they did project on me. I lost my whole entire childhood, um, but it was worth it. It was worth it because it gave me a strength now as an adult to live my own life with no worries, no regrets. I'm very happy. I'm very at peace. Um, and of course, that's all glory to God. All glory to God, because if He wasn't there, if He didn't pick me up, there's no telling where I would be. And I hope this testimony helps someone. I will continue to give my testimony. This is just the beginning. Because I feel like this is my purpose, is to help other people like me, because I see a lot of children losing their lives to toxic parents and toxic families. And the sad part is that's where we learn to survive life, especially if you're the chosen one, if you're the scapegoat. That's where you learn to survive, is with your parents. Even though it's not right for anyone to abuse you mentally, physically, emotionally, no one has the right to do that. Even if they are your parents, God used them as a vessel to get you into this world so that you're able to prosper in the purpose that God designed for you. God did not don't give your parents permission to abuse you, to use you as your personal punching bag. That's why it does say in the Bible that if your parents forsake you, God will pick you up. And I am a living testimony to show you that is what happened. Even though my parents couldn't give me the love that I needed because of jealousy, envy, their mental illnesses, and God made up for that. Only thing I can say is I wish I would have cut my parents off a lot sooner. All the way to the point when I was 10 years old, when I got away from my dad. I wish that was the last time I seen them, because it's a lot. There's a lot of trauma that you have to heal from, and I'm still healing from it. But I'm happy now. I'm ready to have my own children now. I'm finally in a space to love other people, and I'm able to reject narcissists and toxic people. So I really hope this testimony helps someone. I will be back giving more testimony throughout the time that I'm on YouTube to help other people like me, or who's young and going through what I went through. And hopefully it can save lives, and just let the scapegoats know that your life does not end with your toxic family, your toxic friends, your toxic coworkers. That's just a distraction in life that the devil placed in your life to delay you for what God has for you, which is absolutely peace, a beautiful life, happiness, joy, everything that your toxic family members, the devil wanted to steal from you. It doesn't work as long as you stay close to God, and as long as you take the time to love on yourself and take the time to heal. So I hope that helps someone. Enjoy the rest of your day.